day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
And for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Hello viewers, welcome to yet another exciting edition of the program Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am glad you could join us. I am your host, Murna Barnabas Atiai. It is the duty of the legal department in any organization where it exists to provide legal services and advice to the organization as well as handle litigations for it. One of the mandates of ICPC is to prosecute persons who have conspired to commit, attempted to commit, or have actually committed an offense or offenses as created by the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Act 2000. Our focus on today's edition is to educate and enlighten viewers on the mode of operation of the legal department of ICPC. We will in this edition also bring you updates on the anti-corruption fight around the world. We also have the ethics and values segment, drama, and many more. Ruth Awadi will be here with the latest happenings in the world of anti-corruption after this time out.
Welcome to this segment. I am Ruth Awodi. The whistleblower who misled ICPC into raiding a residence belonging to former Vice President Namadi Sambo has been arraigned before a judge in Kaduna. Abubakar Sani Chindo was brought before Justice M.T. Aliyu of a Kaduna State High Court, sitting in Kaduna for allegedly providing false and misleading information to ICPC that the former vice president had stashed huge sums of money, including foreign currencies, in his house. In a 2-count charge filed before the judge, ICPC accused Mr. Chindo of misleading the commission as a whistleblower, an action that contravenes Section 64, subsection 3, and 25A(b) of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, and punishable under the same section. The information provided by the whistleblower had led to the unwarranted raid of the residence of the ex-vice president located at Alimi Road, Kaduna, which yielded no incriminating evidence. The accused, who appeared in court without a defense counsel, pleaded not guilty to the charge when read to him, but however prayed Justice Aliyu to grant him bail. The trial judge refused his bail application, noting that the accused needed a lawyer to perfect his bail conditions. He therefore remanded him in prison custody to perfect the conditions and adjourned the case to November 2nd, 2017. If convicted, Mr. Chindo will face a prison term of 10 years or a fine not exceeding 100,000 naira, as provided by Section 64, subsection 3 of the Act. The National Anti-Corruption Volunteer Corps, NAVC, a citizens' mobilization platform for anti-corruption volunteers initiated by ICPC, has been revived. NAVC, which was conceived as the core of a critical mass of volunteers who would be the foot soldiers nationwide in the fight against corruption, had to be disbanded several years ago when some state chapters of the Corps began to engage in unwholesome activities. Speaking at the revival and re-inauguration of the Delta and Abia state chapters, The chairman of ICPC, represented by the national coordinator of NAVC, Mr. Mike Sowe, explained that ICPC had to disband the structures because rather than pursue the ideals of NAVC, some state chapter coordinators turned it into a paramilitary organization, carrying out indiscriminate arrests, interrogating, and even putting people in detention for allegedly engaging in corrupt practices when they were not empowered to do such by any law or ICPC itself.
The newly branded NAVC is structured in such a way that there will be checks and balances at the local, state, and national levels. As the new operational guidelines indicate, NAVC is no longer for all comers. Among other requirements, to be eligible for membership, an applicant must be gainfully employed with verifiable source of income and must be literate and must have a minimum of senior school certificate. A mandatory training program will be organized for successful members on the following documents and materials: operational guidelines for NAVC, understanding the nature of corruption, overview of ICPC Act, public enlightenment education strategies, guidelines for community advocacy, counseling others on what to do, frequently asked questions about corruption.
On their part, the new state coordinators for Delta and Abia chapters, Comrade Frank Omoile Onyeka and Reverend Blessed Amalamba, respectively, assured the Commission of their readiness to work according to operational guidelines of the new NAVC.
It's a call to national service. We, the NAVC members, has integrity. All of us are comfortable in our of course. So we are here to fight corruption, Before, we have no such outfit in our state where people report their corrupt practices to. So now that we're on ground, people can feel free to come to us to report their corrupt experiences and write petitions to us. So if we find it to be very good, after vetting it, after edition, we now transfer it to Abuja office of our NAVC and the SCPC for them to do their normal investigation. We don't investigate, we don't prosecute, rather than we blow whistle at times if it's necessary.
ICPC and United Nations Development Programme UNDP, in collaboration with other anti-corruption stakeholders, have devised a new initiative to curb the menace of corruption in Nigeria. The initiative, tagged Accountability and Transparency Support Project, is aimed at implementing anti-corruption measures in ministries, departments, and agencies in relation to integrity plans developed during corruption risk assessment conducted earlier by ICPC. It is also designed to help the delivery of quality service in local government councils, as well as to support civil society organizations, CSOs, in policy and knowledge replication and advocacy. Speaking at the local project appraisal committee meeting of the initiative, which involved ICPC, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, UNDP, Bureau of Public Procurement, Technical Unit for Governance and Anti-Corruption Reforms, and CSOs at the Commission's headquarters, ICPC Chairman Mr. Ekpo Nta stated that having gone through the project document, he was convinced that the initiative would impact significantly on the efforts to rid the country of corruption. Mr. Nta advised the representatives of the stakeholder organizations present to work diligently as the product will make an impact and effect the needed change in government operations.
The few of you who are gathered here today might not have your names replicated internationally, but this product, if successfully carried out, would be copied by other countries of the world as evidence of good practice. It will be taught in various universities across the world.
In his address, the representative of UNDP's Deputy Country Director of Programs, Dr. Bolaji Kehinde, commended ICPC for being in the forefront of corruption prevention by working with an array of stakeholders cutting across educational institutions, CSOs, and civil servants.
The ICPC has been at the forefront of preventing corrupt practices by working with a wide array of stakeholders cutting across civil society, educational institutions, civil servants, public officers, as well as other stakeholders in the Nigerian context, in order to put together robust strategies and programs to prevent corrupt practices. So we know that ICPC, in terms of prevention, is the #1 agency in Nigeria. This is why we are here to partner with you, because we at UNDP are in the business of prevention, and our bias is working on the preventive aspect of the fight against corruption.
That will be all on this segment. Back to you, Muna.
Join hand with ICPC, make 'em better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
Come on, hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
You're watching Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. You can also watch this program on YouTube at www.youtube.com/ICPC Nigeria. The legal department of ICPC has the responsibility to prosecute offenders as prescribed in Section 6A of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. Questions sometimes arise regarding why it takes so long for ICPC to secure convictions in corruption cases and on many other issues. Today on the program, Mr. Sonny Eziana of our legal department will be answering questions on some issues often raised by the public on the Commission's prosecution of corrupt individuals. What section of the Act gives the prosecution department the mandate to carry out its duties?
Thank you. The Enabling Act, that is the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, which we will henceforth refer to as the ICPC Act, does not specifically empower the prosecution department, but it specifically empowers the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, that is the ICPC. And the prosecution department is a part of ICPC. So basically what we are looking at is the mandate of the ICPC, that is to say the commission, to prosecute offences. And in that mandate, who executes that mandate on behalf of the commission? So, looking at the Enabling Act, Section 3, subsections 1 and 2, establishes the ICPC. It says that Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission is hereby established, shall be a body corporate. It can sue with a common sale, it can sue and be sued in its own name. So basically, the legal personality of the ICPC was given birth to by Section 3 of the ICPC Act. Taking it further, we'll go to Section 6, which deals with the mandate of the Commission. If you look at Section 6, subsections A to F, clearly spells out the mandate of the Commission. And the first subsection there, which is Section 6, subsection A, makes the provision that the Commission shall have the power to receive reports, petitions, and things like that, complaints about corruption, and investigate same. And after investigating same, in appropriate circumstances, to prosecute the offenders. So it's actually Section 6, subsection A, that gives the Commission the mandate to prosecute offenders. And the entire Commission will not prosecute offenders. So naturally, the Commission has to have a unit that is saddled with the responsibility of prosecuting offences, and not just prosecuting offences, but also defending the Commission when the Commission is sued, because we've seen from Section 3, subsection 1 and 2 that the Commission can actually be sued. So all the legal duties, all the duties of the Commission that has to do with court cases is handled by the prosecution department. So when we talk about mandate to prosecute, we'll talk about Section 6, subsection A. There are also some other relevant sections, Section 26, subsection 2, and Section 61, subsection 1. What these provisions are saying basically is that, yes, it is the Attorney General that has the right to institute criminal proceedings, as in when the Commission wants to prosecute. But it went ahead to delegate that powers of the Attorney General to the ICPC. So all the criminal cases that we institute in ICPC are now deemed to be instituted with an express fiat or authorization of the Attorney General of the Federation. So Section 26 subsection 2 and Section 61 subsection 1 give us what we call deemed fiat to prosecute.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And the next question says, we are aware that there are so many cases pending in court. People have been asking, what happened to all the cases that are in court? What is the prosecution department doing in this regard to get these cases solved?
Well, first of all, I would have to say that that phrase, so many, or so many cases, is subjective. Because what you refer to as so many in one organization may not necessarily constitute so many in another organization. There are organizations, even law firms, that if they have, let's say, 20 cases pending in court at a time, they will say, we don't have many cases pending in court. But there are other organizations that if they have 15 cases pending in court, they will say, we have so many cases pending in court. So that phrase is actually subjective. But I want to say it without any fear of contradiction that I don't think we have so many cases pending in court that are not being attended to. You know that from the time a case is filed to the time that case is concluded, the case is necessarily pending in court. So on a regular basis, we'll file cases. Immediately that case is filed, it is pending. And until it is concluded, it remains pending. So what happens in between? What happens in between is that these cases are being attended to. There's hardly any day in this department, except any working day, there's hardly any working day in this department that you don't see somebody going to court. So the cases are being attended to. We have concluded so many cases this year, and we have also filed so many. So the cases are being attended to. Yes. Okay. So maybe the people that are raising concerns, perhaps it might be because of a communication chain or lack of information. But I will advise people to pay a visit to the ICPC website. You see, a comprehensive list of these cases are there. So if they go, I think that comprehensive list which we post on the website is also downloadable. There's no restriction. Anybody can download it. We are complying fully with the Freedom of Information Act. We say that our operations should be made available to the public. So let them go to the ICPC website. They will see a downloadable version of that, of our cases. They are free to download it. They are free to follow it up. Visit the site regularly and they will see that the cases are being handled.
There's another question that also comes to people's mind. They keep asking, why does it take ICPC so long to secure conviction?
Well, first of all, let me correct a fundamental misconception. When they say, why does it take ICPC so long to secure a conviction? It seems to me that the public is expecting us to secure conviction by all means, by hook or crook. It doesn't work that way. The work of the prosecutor is not to persecute. We don't persecute people. We just prosecute the cases. And what this means is that our duty is to present the facts, the evidence, the cases, everything the way they are to the court. It is the judge that comes to the decision whether the case ends in a conviction or it doesn't end in a conviction. And there are many variables. There are so many things that come into play in making that decision. So it doesn't, I would rather that the question is, why does it take so long for a case to be concluded? So if I would want to approach it from that perspective, there are a lot of things. Handling of cases in court is not a one-way traffic. The prosecution is there, the defense is there, and the court is there. And the determinants of how long a case lasts in court is an interplay between these parties that are necessarily involved in the prosecutorial process. First of all, let's take the court. You know that sometimes the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria embark on strikes. Whenever they're on strikes, courts don't sit. So if you file a case today and they go on strike tomorrow, you will never have your day in court until the strike is called off. If they stay away for 6 months, you don't go to court for 6 months. It's as simple as that. So this is one of the things that contribute to cases taking some time. And again, the judges perform diverse duties. Recently, I had an experience where I was called from one of the courts outside Abuja that I was supposed to travel for a case. And they told me that the judge will be away for some time because she has to sit on appeal. Because high court judges sit on appeal from lower courts, magistrate courts. So when they are away on appeal sittings, cases don't go on. Our cases won't go on until they conclude. So nowadays, the election petition cases, there's a time limit. But in those days, there was no time limit. So if the judge handling your case goes away for election petition tribunal duties, your case will stop until he comes back. I had that experience in, I think, in Akwa Ibom State, and for almost one full legal year, we didn't have any date to sit. So that's one of the things that contribute to delay in expeditious conclusion of cases.
Join hand with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
One hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Madam, no. These drugs are very scarce, so we don't have them here. Go to the next building. There's a paying pharmacy there. You buy it from there.
The drugs I have on my list of prescription is what I am seeing here.
Do you know the packets are empty or they're expired? I mean, go and buy drugs from the next pharmacy. You're here telling me my own job. Rubbish.
Tell me another lie, because I was here yesterday when this new set of drugs were delivered here.
Don't see the drugs, oh. I didn't know I was on leave yesterday. Why you not tell me say that good for nothing, prognosing doctor? Now he said you come here.
Hey, I heard that. Do you know how many lives you will save by giving out those drugs? Or do you know how many lives you are killing by holding those same drugs? You are the same set of people saying that government is corrupt. Government is corrupt. Now you are at your duty post. Are you not corrupt? You are sacked. Yes, because that is corruption. Not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
When corrupt individuals are allowed to get away with their bad deeds, other greedy people are encouraged to follow suit, making it a social norm. To prevent this, therefore, it is a duty for you to report corrupt acts to ICPC. And that's our package for this week. You can send complaints to ICPC headquarters at plot 802 Constitution Avenue, Central Area, Abuja, or the nearest ICPC state offices. Thank you for watching this edition. We'll see you again same time, same station next week. Bye for now.